be another. I would never want to be another. I will not change who I am.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I think we can do a little bit better than that, can we not? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Wonderful, thank you. Do you know what? I walked out from the medium's room and thought, where all these people come from? Why are you here? What do you want? But actually, in our teachings and understandings, David and I are purely here to work with everything that each and every one of you have brought to this church today. You've not come to watch us work. We can only work with everything that you bring in. So thank you. Big warm welcome too to those watching us at home online. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Great delight to welcome to our platform Mr. David Powell, who is a CSNU medium, that's a certificate holder with the Spiritualist National Union, in demonstrating, healing and mediumship. Speaking, there we go. Demonstrating mediumship. I'll get it right one day. So, David, we are looking forward to your session today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, without further ado, I will invite David to give that opening blessing. Thank you, sir.
Well, good morning, friends. Let's just take a few moments now just to join with one another and that power of the Great Spirit. Great Spirit of love and light, as we join together here, we do so with humble thanks for the beauty and the wonder of this day, of all the days which have preceded, and all the days which may follow. We give thanks and acknowledge that ever-present gentle guidance from those realms of light which guide, steer and accompany us through this earthly journey. And we welcome those of our friends and of our family who have made that journey before us to those golden realms of light. And we allow the memory and the love of those people to perfume this very room, this very space and time, as we invite them in and through that power of love to join with us, asking that there may be that true communion of the Spirit, where those messages may be given, demonstrating that great and eternal truth that there is no death but that of the body. We think also of those ministering guides and helpers who enable and empower that communion and who come forward on your behalf with your words of wisdom, of inspiration, of upliftment and of truth. And we welcome them here too with open hearts and open minds, asking that each person here present may be touched and illuminated in some way by that light and by that love. And so, Great Spirit, now as always, we leave this service in your care and in your keeping, knowing that as we do so, that all that will be said and done will be in accordance with your light, your love, and your truth. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, David. Beautiful. And now, if you care to, please join in with saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not when in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Thank you. And we now bring our hearts, our minds, our focus, our very intent in towards that art of healing. Healing isn't a gift bestowed upon a few. Healing isn't an art that is taught and drummed into people. Healing is another word for that expression of love. That love which we are all capable of showing, of sending out and acting within, to places, people, family, friends, and never forgetting ourselves. Because if you can't love yourself, how can we love one another? So during this time, we encourage you to send out that love to wherever you are drawn. To those near us on the earth plane, those on the other side of life, are more than able to receive that healing balm. We'd also invite you to, during this part of the service, if there is anything or anybody that you know in particular is in need of that thought, please just raise your hand, and when I point to you, simply call out their name. The intelligence of spirit knows and will manage accordingly. So enjoy these few moments of peace, of meditation, of relaxation, all bound up in that word of love. Thank you. Paula. Divine and creative force of all things, that whom we know as God, we thank you for this time of healing, and we know that in that collective energy, that love has flown unbounded to the recipients and the places to which they are sent. Amen. I'd now like to invite David for his reading, followed by his address, please. Thank you, sir.
Well, the reading I'd like to share with you this morning comes from a book called Mediumship, Touching the Stars, by a wonderful medium by the name of Eileen Davies. And if there are students of mediumship out there, I can highly recommend this book. It's a wonderful insight into mediumship, spirituality, and in my estimation, you won't find a finer medium on the platforms, certainly in this country and even worldwide. But at the back of her book, there is a number of pages of readings of inspirational writings and extracts from trance teachings. And there's just a small reading here that I'd like to share with you, which is called Acknowledge. Even the light of 1,000 stars cannot compare to the infinite light of your own being. The flight of 1,000 birds cannot compare to the freedom which is your own divine heritage. Why drink from one cup when the waters of the universe are yours? Why make yourself prisoners and throw away the key? You have fashioned the bars by your own making, from your self-created limitations, while all the while you are free. Learn to acknowledge your birthright, the power that created the stars in all their glory and the flowing rivers. Crowned your consciousness with the vision to behold wonder and your heart to know love, so the song of the universe may flow through your veins and the miracle of creation know the splendor of your praise. Let's get these off. See you again now. I don't know about you, but I'm not a particularly big watcher of television. There are a few programs from time to time that do capture my attention, and top of the list I would say is the likes of David Attenborough and all the kind of wildlife, nature kind of programs. But one did caught my eye a little while ago, and I'm sure some of you may well have seen it, and it's called Who Do You Think You Are? And for those of you who perhaps haven't seen it, it's typically a celebrity, and they explore the person's family history going back, and no doubt they find some link to royalty or some particular famous event or other famous people. But apart from the personal sort of interest side of the programme, the question itself is somewhat enticing, isn't it? It's kind of tantalizing. Who do you think you are? When I ask that question of you right here and now, who do you think you are? I could say it with a bit more tone and kind of castigate you, as it were, but I'm not putting it like that. I'm asking that very simple question. Who do you think you are? And if we went round the room and invited each person to answer that question, some of you might say, well, I'm John Smith. I'm 45 years old. I'm an accountant. I'm a mother or a father. I'm a son, a brother. I play rugby. I go swimming. That's who I am. Is that really who you are? Because if we took away each and every one of those roles, each and every one of those little identities, who would be left at the end? If we took away all those, your name, your occupation, your relationships, who's left at the end? And you might say, well, I'm kind of a generous character, I'm free giving, I like mixing with people, I like socializing. But then what we're really talking about is personality. And your personality is to a large extent influenced and shaped and developed through what you experience in your childhood and throughout your life. So if we were able to take away personality, do we then begin to get down to the fundamental nature of who you are? So just for a moment, imagine you're able to take away all those things that you identify as being yourself. And I know it's difficult, but to take away personality, who and what is left? What, of course, I'd like to suggest to you, what is left is actually the true essence of who and what you and what we all are, which is a spiritual being, an eternal being of light that is deathless, that is without limit, is without boundary, and has a capability beyond our wildest imagination, that has lived countless lives before and will have countless lives to come. Now I know, even as I say those words to you right here and now, I can hear the cogs whirring in your brain, because what you do is when you wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock and you look in the mirror, the last thing that goes through your mind is that you're an eternal spiritual being of light. Isn't that the case? Because we look at ourselves and we think, oh, another day, it's raining, I'm greyer, I'm heavier, or whatever. How often do we actually touch base? How often do we consciously acknowledge and realize the splendor of who and what we actually are? Perhaps when we come into church, or when we go to circle, or we meditate, we may have that faint glimpse. But I would suggest even in those moments, more often than not, we are a bit like a pond skater. We are skimming across the surface of that deeper reality of who and what we are. And we have a choice as we are going through this life. And as I look around the room, it's wonderful to see such a diverse range of ages. But we're going through this life, and fundamentally we have a choice about how we want to experience that life. Do we want to experience life, as it were, like a pond skater, skimming across the surface, being identified and engaged with all the labels, with all the titles and the functions that we give ourselves? Or do we want to experience life from a deeper reality, from the reality of who we truly are, a spiritual being, an eternal spiritual being that is capable of things beyond our wildest imagination? It's that choice, isn't it? What do we want to identify with? What do we want to acknowledge? And to put it into everyday terms, I want you to think for a moment, right here and now, about your favourite food or your favourite drink, a little treat, whether it's chocolate or whether it's a malt, and won't look at Laurie, but whatever it may be. Little secret let out there. Maybe it's not a secret. Not anymore. But just think for a moment about what your favourite little treat is. And for the sake of my talk, we're going to use chocolate as an analogy. Could you imagine now, just thinking about what your favourite treat is, if you'd never tasted chocolate and you went through your entire life and your knowledge of chocolate was based purely on what other people told you, what chocolate was like, compared to a life where you've tasted chocolate, you know what chocolate is, you know how it makes you feel. And if we expand those two kind of ideas into life itself, that's the kind of choice that we have. Do we want to go through this life, experiencing life, on the basis of what other people might tell us about our spiritual nature, our spiritual identity, our spiritual capability? do we want to be reliant on somebody else to tell us? Or do we want to experience that for ourselves? And if we do want to experience that for ourselves, what does that ask of us? What does that require? Well, surely it must require us to give time, to give energy, and to give purpose, to withdraw our attention away from all those things that we so readily identify with. The roles that we perform, the functions, the identities, the personality. And you know, I'm talking whether you want to call it meditation, whether you want to call it mindfulness, whether you want to call it just awareness. But we are talking about that journey, not a journey of exploration that takes us away from where we are, but that inner journey of going within. How difficult is it, do you find, to actually steal time away from the many distractions in life that pull for your attention, and just to be comfortable, to be okay, to sit, as it were, and do nothing other than to enter into that state of communion with your own spirit? One thing I do know, and I can speak from personal experience, not just from what other people have told me, but in the degree to which you are prepared to open that doorway into that inner journey of understanding and of growth, then your own spirit and the spirit world are just waiting, keen, eager to make their presence felt, to demonstrate the reality that life is continuous, that it's all just not a matter of imagination in our mind. But we've got to be prepared to make that effort, to carve aside that time, and to allow our own spirit and the spirit world to make their presence felt. And I'll share with you, forgive me if you heard me mention this before, but it was a profound experience for me, and it led me directly to where I am here and now. When I was very first exploring this understanding, this awareness of mediumship, of spiritualism and spirituality in its widest sense, I used to get impulses to write poetry and short pieces of inspirational writing. And if you'd known David when he was in his 40s, you wouldn't recognise the person that I was then to the person that I am now. And the person who was David 20 odd years ago is the last person on planet Earth who would have been writing poetry and inspirational kind of writing. So it was a bit of a shock, if I could put it like that. But lo and behold, there was this expression of intelligence, this expression of love that was pouring through me. That's the only way I can describe it. And on this one particular occasion, what I was feeling and what I was hearing within my awareness wasn't in English. But I wrote down as best as I was able to what I was hearing. And when I looked at it, I thought, well, that's interesting. I've never studied German, but the words were coming through me. It felt to be of German, and the words looked like German. So off I went and got an English-German dictionary. And what I'd written in a language that I've never studied and have no German ancestry, no German connections whatsoever, was "Step with me through the looking glass." And even as I say those words again now, I have that shiver down my spine, because here was an intelligence expressing an invitation to me to step with them through the looking glass. Now, we all know that a looking glass is an old-fashioned name for a mirror. And in mystical terms, a mirror is regarded as a divide between one realm of consciousness and another. So here was this intelligence expressing itself in a language that I did not know, with an invitation to step forward, to trust, to go with it. And that was, say, over 23 years ago now. And I thank my lucky stars, literally, that I had the courage and the conviction, but to a large extent the curiosity to follow that invitation. And that invitation that was expressed through me was the hook, as it were. And from that point on, I was convinced beyond any question of the reality of my own spirit and that of the spirit world. And that knowing has led me, has sustained me, and continues to sustain me in all that I do. Just recently, my kind of interest has gone off in a slightly different direction with my mediumship, and I'm beginning to explore that. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know that they do. And this is the option, this is the opportunity that each and every one of us have. It's not just reserved for a select few. It's not just reserved for people who may stand up on platform. That invitation is there, ready and waiting. If you have not heard it, maybe it's because we haven't been listening. But that invitation, in whichever form it may be made, is waiting to burst through your consciousness into your living awareness and guide you in exactly the same way on your own pathway as it has guided me. And I'll leave that thought and that invitation with you. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Well, no need for that. No need for that.
Too bad. You got it. Thank you, David. We now move on to our piece of the music for today. You have the words with you. If you wish to sing along, great. If you wish to just listen, absolutely fine. During this time, Paul will be taking the collection for the further work of this your church. Before I hand over to David once more for his demonstration of evidential mediumship, as always, we remind you this is a three-way conversation. This is from spirit, through spirit, to spirit. Unlike a telephone call, it requires you to be part of that conversation, does it not?
Yes.
So, If the medium should come to you, please try and respond with a
Yes. No. Maybe.
see?
Brilliant.
There you do it.
Brilliant.
Apologies to the new people sat there thinking, what is going on? It is simply an encouragement. You know, each and every message is a tiny miracle. You know, what more could you want from the world to have that communication to those that have gone before us? So enjoy that fact, enjoy that presence, love it for what it is, that gift from the spirit world to say, we're here and we love you. Hold on, somebody's coming on. Come on. Sorry, I'm not working today. You are.
Well, Laurie has said it all, so we're all clear about what is needed. The only thing I would add to that is if you can resist the temptation to give me information about your loved ones, because if you start giving me information, what's going to happen is I'm going to come and sit in your chair, you're going to come up here and you're going to give me a message. All right? So unless that's what you kind of want to do, then just yes, no, not sure. Any one of those responses will be fine. Okay. I do feel I'd like to come to the lady. Got a beautiful jumper on. Yeah. If I could come to you, please. I've got a gentleman here that's with me. And I say this gentleman, I feel taller than myself. I want a man who would have carried himself well, because I feel I want to stand up straight and get my kind of shoulders back. I feel very much that this is a man who would have been, I want to say, a very steady man. This is a man who would have been considered in his thoughts, considered in his words, and considered in his actions. That's not to say he's kind of stiff and without humour, because I do feel this man would have had a good humour. I feel very much like I want to be connecting with either a father or a grandfather. If it is grandfather, I know this man would have been close to you. But I feel also this gentleman would have had problems with his the upper body here. I don't know if this is respiration or chest. Is this making sense to you, please? No. No. Oh, that's peculiar. We haven't had one of those for a while.
But it's making sense.
Ah, okay. Have I got my spiritual sat-nav slightly off beam? So you would understand, say, a tall gentleman, an upright gentleman, very considered. As I said, I don't feel this man would have been one for sort of trifling nonsense, as it were. You know, if we're going to have a conversation, let's talk about the important stuff. You know, that's the kind of feel I have with this man. I also feel very much like this man would be outdoors. That's where his kind of place would be, because I feel very connected to outside.
Maybe.
I want like a country kind of environment. That's the kind of feel I would have with this gentleman. That's where the heart is.
Okay, yeah.
All right, you're not too sure. Well, let's put that to one side. But you understand everything about the gentleman so far. And as I said, I feel very fatherly with him. That's the kind of feeling I have as I would relate to. So you could understand that. And this, I mentioned this condition. I've got something going on. I just feel in my upper body here.
Chest.
Yeah, thank you. All right, okay. I feel very much, if you'd understand this gentleman as father, I said he was very measured and very considered in his ways. I feel that would extend also to how he would have demonstrated and shown his affections also. Because I feel very much that he's expressing this feeling of wanting to, you know, if we all wish we could turn the hands of time back, but I do feel that I would have wanted to be able to express and shown and demonstrated more tangibly to you my care and affection of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Could you place a black dog for me?
Well, we have a black dog.
You have a black dog, okay. But would you understand if you don't place the black dog with your father, if I was to speak about low mood, would you understand why that's been mentioned? I can see a few nodding heads. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes in the spirit world, they want me to mention low mood, they show me a black dog. Apparently Winston Churchill, when he had his episodes, he used to say he's got the black dog with him. I don't know why that's kind of works for me, but it works. So as long as you understand, well, you've got a black dog, but you could also understand why low mood is being mentioned. Okay. Spoke about the hands of time. Would you understand the significance of clocks or a clock face being shown by your father?
Yes.
Okay, but I also need to talk about, would you understand about yourself marking time? Because I feel your father's wanting to kind of say to you that there's this sense, there's this feeling that you may have been marking time. It's almost like the hands of time have kind of stopped still for a little while. And there's this need to be moving on. This encouragement he's wanting to give to you to be moving forward.
Okay.
Okay. I need to talk about the name of John, and there's also a William. You'd understand?
Yes.
The lady's saying yes.
Sorry.
Okay, John and William need to be mentioned. I also feel I need to talk about Elizabeth. And I'm not saying Elizabeth has an anniversary in December, but would you understand an anniversary, please? Close to around about the 21st of December. Because they're wanting to take my mind to that time of the year. I know asking a man about an anniversary is a hopeless... I have to put my hand up and say I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, if you can't place the 21st of December, but have a little percolation, and hopefully that will fit into place. So, two things there from your father. One, I just want to say again, this desire to have been more giving, more demonstrative of my love and care for you. That's certainly what I feel for you very strongly. And this encouragement, if you've been a little bit kind of stuck in the mud, and that may be physically, it could be emotionally, it could be just energetically, there's this encouragement, because he keeps on showing me the hands at like 10 to 12, and we need to be getting to number 12.
Okay.
All right, so if I could leave that encouragement, as it were, from Dad and the black dog.
Okay.
All right, thank you for working with me. Okay, where are we going? May I come to the lady, please? She's got a black top and... yes, you just looked at me there. Did I come to you last time? Oh, wow, okay. I just had a very slight deja vu moment going on there. But I've got a gentleman here. This gentleman certainly is taller than me, and I want a man who would have been fuller across the chest. I don't feel this man has made especially old bones. I mean, he's done... I always struggle with ages. I shouldn't say that, but that's what I feel I do. But if this man would be in his 70s, very early 80s, I'd say at the upper limit, that would be the kind of feel. But I feel breathless with this man. I feel he would have had a condition that's affected his, his breathing. Because not only do I feel... I'm having to pause and kind of draw a breath, but I'm also feeling a bit like this, you know. I kind of would have needed to have taken the weight because I just feel washed out. That's how he makes me feel. You know that was all while he was here on earth and in the body, but that he's all free of that. And I know this is a man, he feels like the eternal optimist to me. I feel very... uplifted in my outlook on life. So a man who would have been naturally disposed to being positive, to being cheerful. That's his natural state. And again, I feel very caring, very protective, very fatherly towards you as this gentleman is just working with me. So does this make sense to you, please? Can you understand? Sorry?
Not fatherly.
Okay, but would you if...
Kind of fatherly, but not.
Yeah, I essentially feel, and how he makes me feel is a bit like how I feel towards my daughter. I feel caring and I feel protective of you. So if I've turned him into dad, and he's not actual dad, but you'd understand that caring and that wanting to look out for you. That's how he's working with me here. Would I be right to say you got on pretty well?
Yes.
Yeah, because I just feel so full of admiration for you, because we sort of clicked. We saw eye to eye. That's what I feel he's saying to me. We understood each other. And he's like, that was a rare thing. There was something special. That's what he's wanting to say to you. He regarded that friendship, that relationship, that knowing of you as being something very special in his life that was treasured. And it's beyond your estimation. That's what he wants to say, how important that was to him. Would I be right in saying, please, you must have spoken to this man about this kind of understanding about life after death and the eternal nature of ourselves? Yeah. No, but you planted seeds. So I'm waving my finger here, and I don't normally do that. So, but would that have been one of his characteristics? Do you know? Don't remember that. Okay. Well, maybe I'm just getting a bit excited. I don't know. But here we go again. Put my hands in the pocket. Yeah, you underestimate. You'll never know the depth and the significance of those seeds that you planted, because he's saying to me they came into full bloom in his understanding. It's like you prepared the ground, because I don't feel before then this gentleman would have naturally had this understanding and this disposition towards life after death. This gentleman is seems to be a day for an encouragement, is wanting to encourage you, please, because you would understand you're selling yourself short. That's what he wants to say to me. And you know, he's yeah, okay. He's saying you got plenty more miles on the clock. And he's putting that cross in that kind of jokey way, because he's wanting to talk about potentials with you, things that have not been fulfilled. You would understand that you've been a bit, do I, don't I? And he's saying, like, for heaven's sake, you know, he's reminding me of what was said during the address. Get on with it. Move forward with it. Because, yeah, he's saying you're like kind of stuck in the doldrums at the moment. Yeah, and he needs and wants you to be able to be free, to be freer. Okay, that's what he's wanting to encourage. Okay. I don't believe this is named, but would you understand the significance of Frank? The name Frank.
I do know Frank, but it's not the name that I was putting to this person.
No. I'm not saying it's this man's name, but I just heard him shout there, Frank. He wanted to mention Frank. Okay, so you'd understand the significance of Frank. Okay, thank you. And would you be able to place like a little collie dog? This is kind of a multicoloured little dog, but about the size of a collie. If you can't place it, we've got to find somebody who's got a collie dog.
Dogs, but not that particular dog.
All right, okay. I used to be a police dog handler, so I should know my breeds one from another. But if you can't place the collie dog, let me just test something. You don't understand connections like to Wales, Welsh borders, that area? The lady over there is a collie dog. Okay, we may be moving across in a minute. All right. Sorry?
I've got his jumper on. Who are we talking about?
Who, the dogs?
The dog. We were talking, Laurie and I were talking about mohair jumpers, but I've never heard about a dog hair jumper. The gentleman. Oh, lovely. Well, you've told me that. He didn't tell me, but that's lovely. I'm so glad that he's been able to come through to you today. So can I just leave this gentleman? And I do want to say love, because that's how I feel. and this just overwhelming sense of care and affection and wanting the best for you. But that's also tinged with him saying, don't forget what I've told you. Don't forget. Yeah? So don't let me come back to you another time, and if that, you know, have to say the same thing again, because as I said, I got a very strong sense of deja vu with that. So I'll leave this gentleman's love and the dog. Okay, quick drink of water. I do feel drawn over here. If I could ask you two ladies to keep to listen in, please, but also the lady just behind. If I could just describe who I have here, and hopefully we should be in the right ballpark. I've got a lady here with me, and I feel quite a short and quite a compact lady. There's not a lot to this lady in terms of flesh and bone. I do feel that this lady has had a good innings in life. I do feel I want somebody, you know, into my 70s and maybe beyond. But I said it's this small a stature, the slightness of her that I'm first noticing. I don't know whether she would have had problems with her teeth or a mouth, because I just feel that there with her. I do feel also that this lady, she would have shouldn't be careful what I say, she would have enjoyed a good natter. Not as to say not all ladies like a good natter, but I feel this lady in particular is kind of, once you got her going, it would have been very difficult to kind of put a lid on it. That's how I feel. Is this making sense to you, please? Some of it, okay. And you understand it also. If I was to say this lady was, you might feel she might have a tinge of being slightly eccentric in some way or shape or form, because she has this quirkiness about her character and about her personality. She's not your kind of run-of-the-mill. She's a little bit different and a little bit kind of odd in her way. And I feel very much that some people wouldn't know how to quite relate to her. Are you understanding here? Yeah, okay. I think I may be with the lady there, but thank you for listening in. Okay. This thing about the teeth, does that make sense?
I'm not aware of it, I can't remember.
Okay, all right. It's just that my mouth and the teeth feel a bit peculiar at the moment. But okay, you understand everything else about the lady. Okay. I've said that there's this feeling of being a little bit kind of eccentric, a little bit kind of quirky, but I feel also with that I would have become quite, I'm struggling with getting my words out, but quite I'm struggling. Would you understand some mental, cognitive issues with the lady?
Not until the very end. Yes. Save me and save me up.
They got two. They have two.
You understand?
The teeth, but even the teeth.
You understand this so cognitive issues, because I feel I could become very absorbed sort of, within my own mind and with my own thinking.
Yeah.
You can place this lady now. Have I lost you? Unless we've got a 2-in-1, which is, it does happen from time to time, but let's just keep it open. Let's both keep listening, please. So you understand this cognitive kind of issue. And I feel very much with that, what this lady is wanting to say is that there's this feeling at times she didn't really even know herself, and would have had difficulty understanding and placing other people who would have been close to her. And I feel awkward about that, because I don't, it doesn't feel right that I didn't know and wasn't able to relate to people in the way that I would have wanted to. It was a bit like the struggle I had just now, where I knew what I wanted to say, but the words weren't coming out. And I feel this lady is wanting to reflect back on those times, and not that an apology is needed, but she like wants to set the record straight. Does this make sense, please? You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Particularly at the end.
Yeah. All right. I do feel this lady. When we look before her kind of deterioration, this is a lady who would have been very busy in life, a very industrious lady, because I feel I have this, it's like I've got a power pack, I got a dynamo. This lady would have had trouble kind of being still, because I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and it's like, for heaven's sake, just sit down, please, just stop. But this lady, bless her, you know, that was not in her nature. It was not her makeup to stop. There's this busyness, this drive, this engagement, and yeah, she kind of wears me out just kind of sharing that kind of energy. We've acknowledged that towards the end of her life, this cognitive issues, but I also feel she's wanting to talk about even before then, because she could have got she was so consumed and so kind of wrapped up in her mind. I do feel I've been neglectful. I haven't touched you in the way that you should have been touched. And I don't necessarily mean that in like a physical way, but I mean that on an emotional level. And she's wanting just to express that now and to say, and I feel very humble when I say this, you know, I want and I need for you to know and to understand that that love was always there, but it kind of got suppressed. It kind of got caught up in the busyness of all what was going on up here, but the love was no less there. Would the name Anne be significant, please?
Yeah.
That's her name.
Not you, yeah.
That's her name.
That's the name she was known by.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's the lovely bit of icing on the cake. And would there also be a Ted, please? Ted could be Edward, but
That'd be yes, well, yeah, part of the family.
okay, but yeah, okay, they're connected. And would I be right in saying there'd be an army connection also when we look at that side of the family, please? Because I feel I'm being shown a photograph here, like regiments, soldiers. Not saying Ted necessarily would have been in the army. He may have been, but there's.
In the war, lots.
All right, you can understand. All right, okay. This lady's also. I've got a little dog or little dogs, please. Little kind of ankle snapper-sized dogs that are running around. Could you place, please, for me a little dog, dogs, with this lady? Dogs, yeah, okay, all right. Well, she's still got her dogs, and it feels like there's a collection. There's a, you know, a gathering of them. Okay, what else do we need to be mentioning? You know, we said this lady was running around like 100 miles an hour, and I feel she would have been, as I said, very distracted in life. She also wants to kind of bring your awareness to focus. And you know, we can go through life, we can have times when we're like this and times like that and times when we're a bit kind of topsy-turvy. And she's a bit of a finger wag moment. Don't be disregarding things that are bothering you. So, you know, if there's things that are going on a health-wise or whatever, she's saying there's no good sticking your head in the sand. We need to kind of just pay attention. All right, do you understand what's been said? Yeah, thank you. All right, so there's no kind of diagnosis there or anything like that. It's just, I haven't said mother, but I feel it's motherly advice.
Yes.
It's motherly kind of concern that we don't ignore that. All right, so yeah, act on what she says, and then she won't have to come back through and tell you again. And do you know what she just said to me? She said, "It's great over here. It's great over here." I don't feel that before she would have passed, she would have had this understanding. I feel more of a traditional religious kind of outlook. I can feel that religion there in her, but it doesn't feel like this. And, you know, it was like a revelation. Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Great over.
Thank you.
All right. I'll leave her love with you, and thank you for working with me. Is that
Wonderful.
Yeah, brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, can I thank you for your love and support for making those messages possible? Thank you. No need for that.
We do. Thank you, David. Very briefly, the notices for the week coming up. On Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we have an open healing circle. This is a time when you can come within the church, sit within a circle environment for the art of healing, both giving and receiving. The circle will be constructed with an opening prayer, guided meditation, short time of just sitting in the power, closing down, take about 20-25 minutes in total, after which we have healing available from the church healers. So that's this Wednesday at 3 p.m. In the evening at 7 p.m, our new schedule for Wednesday's gone a little bit awry in January because of previous bookings. That's fine. It's Paul, just go with the flow. So this Wednesday at 7 o'clock we have a demonstration of evidential mediumship, and we welcome Jo Gordon to our platform, who's known as the singing medium. Jo will work slightly differently with her communications because during the day she will receive tracks and titles from yesteryear or singers, and that is to build up the link. And I went along to one of her dems. I thought, okay, let's have a little look, and actually I thought it works. It really works. So very interesting. So anyway, that's this Wednesday at 3 p.m. Next Sunday at 11 o'clock in the morning, our service will be taken by Jeff and Al Potts from Bath Road Church. The update on the website is now available for the rest of January. February's programme will be released shortly. Just to remind you all, our Wednesdays have changed. Apart from 2 sessions for healing, there is no 3 p.m. service on a Wednesday, instead of which we have shifted to the evenings with a variety of awareness nights, which are focused on spiritualism. We have a demonstration night, we have an open circle night, and we also will be having a spiritual cafe. That will kick off in February, where we can talk about the broader construct of spirituality. So lots going on. As I say, take a leaflet from the hall there, go on our website, keep up to date. I'd now invite David, please, for the closing blessing. Thank you, sir.
Great Spirit of love and light, as we now draw our service to a close, we do so with humble and heartfelt thanks for this opportunity to have joined with one another in that spirit of friendship and of companionship with those of our friends and loved ones who have joined with us to share their messages and demonstrate that great and eternal truth that there is no death but that of the body. And we ask that as we each now go our separate ways, that we may be watched over, kept safe and well, and forever guided and inspired to walk in pathways of light, of love, of service to one another, and that each in their own way are guided and inspired to that fullest realization of your light, of your love, that they may become that example of those qualities, and that each, according to their own need and their own pathway, find that fullest and truest realization of their spiritual power, their potential, and their purpose. Amen.
Amen. David, thank you so much for today's service. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for coordinating with the colours
it's quite
today as
clever,
well.
isn't it?
Yes, I'm very impressed. Before we go, I have the great privilege at this time to be at the helm of this church, and I'm loving it. I loved part of your address, I loved all of your address, but there was one part in particular which stood out about seeing the potential in people. And often I look around and talk to people in the church and just think, oh my goodness, if you could see you as I see you, you wouldn't have a worry. You seriously wouldn't. Part of that process, we've got some amazing people who help at the church and do variety of chores freely of their own free will. I do not twist arms much. I never use emotional blackmail, hardly ever use emotional blackmail. But it just all comes together to create this environment. You know, the minute you walked in this door, you all felt love. And that is created by the people who help out, do what they do. We've got a special lady here today, who's now going to run out of the door because I'm going to embarrass her, who is one of the kindest people that I know. She did an amazing job. She was one of the few that during the times after reopening about COVID and us all walking out into a brand new world, came down to the church every week, twice a week, to keep the doors open, to stand there. Do you remember the days? We had to stand there, you know, detox your hands. I got a mask on, I need your name and address, doing all these new things, and did it. And just volunteered to do it, and did it happily, and greeted people, and made people feel welcome. And she also does so many little things for other people. It's, you know, there's always this, oh, I've just thought of this, I've just done that for some, you know, and never to get that self-gratitude. So Janet, my darling, would you come up here, please? Now, number one, you said you weren't going to be here today, so I didn't bother with anything. So the minute you walked through the door, I thought, oh dear, or words to that effect. So just a little token on behalf. Oh, well, thanks, Pauline. Give me flowers, have you? Little token. Thank you so much for everything you do. You just wonderfully do. Thank you. So we'd like to join in with Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Don't forget you're on camera. Happy birthday, dear Janet. You'll be seen all over the world. Birthday to you. Yay. Seriously. I was so horrible doing that. I said, don't forget you're on camera and you can be seen all over the world now. Janet, thank you so much. You're just a star, and you're an amazing person. Another amazing pool person. Thank you, my darling.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We will, of course, be giving Janet the bumps outside in a minute. Everybody, have a wonderful day. It's not raining, all right, it's not sunny, but it is not raining. Quick, go and enjoy it. Thank you all for attending. God bless. Take care. Have a seat.